Hey my dudes, my name is Cecilia and welcome to my kitchen here in Stockholm, Sweden. For those of you who are regular viewers, you will see that this is obviously not one of my normal videos. My hair is down, I have a full set of nails, my rings are on, and I'm not even wearing my apron. If you're new here, I run a bakery called Bageriet Lördag, the Saturday bakery. And for the last couple weeks, I have been posting vlogs of my week baking and prepping for each coming Saturday. Those videos have been going really well, and there's a bunch of new faces around here. And since I haven't been able to bake this week at all, I'm not doing any pastry boxes, I thought maybe I could squeeze in a quick question and answer session. And so that way you guys get to know me a little bit better. I put a video out this week. It's a win-win all around for everybody. So I made a post here on YouTube asking you, my lovely followers, to ask me anything, and ask you did. And stick around to the end. I have some really fun news to share with you guys. I think this video is going to be quite long, so grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, I have a smoothie, and let's get into it. Also, do you guys not love my little mini offset microphone? I'm obsessed with this. I think that this is really cute and also really funny. I really didn't want to pin this to my shirt, so here we are. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room and the subject of the title. Is my bakery illegal? At Don't Know Why I'm Here 5460 asks, what are your tips on figuring out legal stuff related to opening a bakery like yours? I know that obviously depends on each country, region, but I'd like to know how you went around making sure you ran your business in a legal way. And I really liked this question because the implication was that I am running my business in a legal way. And this is something I come up against a lot, is that people in my comments think that my business is illegal, which cracks me up because all of my videos about Bageriet Lördag are doing pretty well. So like, if it was illegal, I would get shut down really quickly. I understand that, like, obviously you guys don't know me IRL, but I am such a cautious person. I am such a goody two shoes, follow the rules, don't do anything bad, never ever get in trouble kind of person, that it is like unthinkable to me that I would even try to do something illegal. To answer I don't know why I'm here's question, you just have to like call your county or your state or your city or whatever your equivalent local government is. Here in Sweden, I called Stockholm's kommun. Kommun is kind of like equivalent to a county, and I called them before I got started. There was a little bit of an issue of like how my business was classified from when I started to like how it is now. And so I had to talk to them even more. I've called them on the phone. I've emailed with them. I have researched a lot on my own. Like, listen, if you want to have any type of business, but especially a food related business, Google is your friend. And if you can't understand what you're finding on Google, then you just pick up the phone and you call people and you talk to them. And if you live in a place where you literally can't call whatever your local government is, and you can't drop by the local government office, and their information on this stuff is not online, then I don't know where in the backwoods country you're living, but you probably then don't need to actually worry about the legal ramifications of what you're doing if there's no equivalent local government. You know what I mean? That's not legal advice. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, question number 2. At Becca Loves Crafts wants to know, are you saying hey my dudes or some word in Swedish that sounds like you're calling us my dudes? She also wants to know, why don't I have a Swedish accent? Well, Becca, to answer the first part of your question, hey, as in hey in English, is an informal way to say hello, but hey in Swedish literally translates into hello. They don't have hello, they have hey. Well, actually they do have hello, that's halloj, but I think in Swedish hey is the more formal and more proper, and halloj is the taken from English. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Anyways, my dudes is just my dudes. And why do I say my dudes? Kind of ties into the why don't I have a Swedish accent? It's because I'm American. I was born and raised in Southern California. That's why I say hey my dudes. That's why I speak perfect English. It's because it's my mother tongue, you guys. I understand the confusion though. I live in Sweden, I look Swedish, I speak Swedish, but no one who has ever heard me speak Swedish thinks that I am a natural born Swede. Let me tell you, I definitely have an accent when I speak Swedish. It's not that bad, but it's there. Beck RR wants to know, 1, do Swedes make desserts with lingonberries? And 2, my Kenwood moves up and down when mixing doughs. Is that normal? So to answer number 1, lingonberry is definitely used in desserts, but I wouldn't say that it's common or super popular. Like, no one would think that was weird, but it's also not the first flavor people are going to think of. I actually have a recipe for a lingonberry cake, which you can find the link to in the description down below. I think it's a really good cake. And to answer your second question, it's because my Kenwood is not actually powerful enough to make the doughs that I make it make. It was kind of cheap, and it's very like plasticky. Like, I did not spend a lot of money on this Kenwood. It's not really supposed to be making the doughs that I make it make. I just kind of force it into submission and have always felt like, well, it was so cheap. If it breaks, it breaks, and then I can like upgrade. But honestly, it's a soldier. It's been going on for like 5 years now and has yet to give up on me. So I'm not complaining. But no, it's not normal. It's not supposed to do that. I push it way too hard, to answer your question. This leads me very nicely into my next question from Dylan Lowry, K7H. What is the next purchase I'm excited to add to the Saturday Bakery equipment lineup? Probably going to be a different stand mixer. My thing is that I am cheap, and I feel like don't fix something if it's not broken, and my Kenwood has a lot of great attachments, and it also works for my purposes, so why would I replace it and add to the waste in the world? I'm honestly really hoping that someone just sponsors me and gives it to me, which sounds just like so spoiled brat and egotistical, but like all of my videos will feature this stand mixer, which is just like free advertising. So if you work for a stand mixer company, give your girl a call. You know what? Side note, I learned that this is millennial and that Gen Z goes like this because of like an iPhone. I will always do the banana. Always. You can pry the banana from my cold dead fingers. At Marilette Sanders wants to know, what app/website do I use for my pre-orders? Let me tell you, oh my God, I use the best website. It's called Tally, and I will put the link to them in the description. I love them so much. They are actually a form builder. It's not like a website, it's a form builder. It works so well. I have the like premium version, and I pay 25 euros a month, which like is expensive and would be expensive as like a normal form builder, but because I use it, it's like so integral to my business. It really like, I really need the kind of like advanced functions that the 25 euro a month gets me. So for me, it's totally worth it. It's super easy to use. They have great customer support. I really like them. And so that is how I build my order form. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, my bakery sells pastry boxes, and every Tuesday at noon, I release an order form. So you go into my stories on either my personal page, which is Cecilia.Talone on Instagram or TikTok, or even better, you go to @Bageriet Lördag on Instagram. I post the link to the order form in my stories. And then you go through and you fill out the order form. The order form is connected to Stripe, and Stripe is how I take the payments. And Stripe is great because it's like, it takes international payments as well. So if you're an American, or you're from Australia, or you're from wherever, and you're in Sweden and you want a pastry box, you just do the same online formula. There's like nothing weird about it. It works so well. It's so easy to use. Could not sing Tally's praises high enough. My order form works great for me. Will I one day have a different ordering system, more like a custom one, and a website besides the one that I have right now, which is CeciliaTalone.com? Probably, but I haven't gotten there yet. That's a one day problem. That's not a now issue. At London4345 asks, how did you get the idea of the Saturday Bakery? Also, when do you post? The idea came to me because I was tired of baking for nobody. I was a baker and a pastry chef for like 8 years, and then I burnt out. That's a whole story in and of itself. I kind of like clawed my way back into good health, and one of the ways I did that was by fully removing myself from the industry. But I didn't want to go back to college. I didn't want to really start a new career, and my dad is a YouTuber, and so I thought, well, why don't I give YouTube a try as well? And I started out by just posting recipe videos, and that's what I was doing a lot on Instagram and TikTok, and those videos were doing okay for a long time, and I was gaining followers, and like, yeah, things were going good, but I felt kind of like I was making all of this food. And I was like, who is using these recipes and who is using these things? And like, I'm making all this food and where is it all going? You know, I'm giving it away to friends and I'm giving it away to coworkers and neighbors, but I'm so behind a screen. Obviously, that's what social media is. But I didn't feel connected to my audience. I didn't feel connected to the people baking my food or eating it, or no one was eating it. It wasn't what I wanted. So I was like, well, how can I figure out a way to have a bakery, to have a community, to feed people, to serve people, while also not burning out? And I thought, well, what if I could create a bakery that was only on Saturdays? It was only one day a week. And wouldn't it be so great if it was Saturday? Because Saturday's the fun day. It's the day off. It's the go out and enjoy life day. And if I could take that feeling of those little, like a little weekly celebration and just add my touch to it, to like, yes, this is your day off. Here, let me feed you. Let me help you celebrate that with pastries, because what is the best way to celebrate anything? It's obviously with baked goods. It's obviously with pastries, right? Like you need that treat once a week. You need that treat yourself day. You need that rest day, that fun day. And that day is Saturday. And so that's kind of where the whole idea of Bageriet Lördag came from. And then my posting schedule is insane. I would love to one day go more in depth with you guys about the amount of love I have for a good spreadsheet and all of my different like schedules and like the data that I collect on my social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm very intense about it. This is my posting schedule that I'm going to try my darndest to stick to in the fall. So I will be posting on Bageriet Lördag's Instagram, my own TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Substack, and then also doing weekly vlogs here. Mondays is for box recap. I need to start the week on a little bit more of like a chill note, and those videos are pretty chill for me to do. On Tuesdays, I will be doing a recipe of the week, and that recipe gets published on Substack, and then there's going to be like a video that accompanies that recipe to kind of like show you how to do it. And then also on Tuesdays is when the Bageriet Lördag menu comes out. So that's Tuesday's post on Bageriet Lördag. So Wednesday at Bageriet Lördag, then we're going to post the recipe of the week. And everywhere else is going to be Wednesday's vlog, because Wednesdays are the start of my work week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, possibly Sunday, sometimes for BL is going to be just like pictures of all of the pastries and stuff. I really want Bageriet Lördag to be about Bageriet Lördag and the pastries that I make, and then all the behind the scenes stuff is going to be on all the other short form platforms. And so I'm going to do Thursday's vlog on Thursday, Friday's vlog on Friday, Saturday's vlog on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. And then on Sunday is for rest. Saturday is for fun, but Sunday is for rest. And then the following Monday is when I take all of those vlogs and I string them all together and I come out with my weekly vlog here on long form YouTube. And I'm doing that because it's like people like to sit and watch all of them strung together in one. Plus it's something that I can do. Can you imagine me doing this posting schedule and Bageriet Lördag and other projects which are still secret to you guys, and then I have to also make a YouTube video? I would die. Like, I'm a workaholic, but I would die. At NoRainy6934 wants to know, how do I market my baked goods? What I just told you about that posting schedule, that's the marketing. Anna Nelson7011 wants to know, if she's using an ankarsrum mixer, how long does she need to knead the dough for the cardamom buns? Do I use the dough hook or the roller? I just bought the mixer, so I'm learning. That was her one question. She has 3 questions here. We're going to start with cardamom buns. In the ankarsrum mixer, I use the dough roller for my cardamom dough recipe, and then I do 5 minutes on the slowest speed. And then once that's stopped, I kick it up to a medium speed and I do 12 minutes. The ankarsrum is really nice because it has like a 12-minute timer. So I do 12 minutes, and then 9 times out of 10, the dough is going to need another 5 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it needs another 5 minutes more than that. But usually 5 minutes, 12 minutes, 5 minutes, and you're going to be good to go. You just want to do like a nice little window pane test. She also asks, have I baked Tunnbröd? which is a traditional Swedish type of flatbread. And I haven't because Stockholm is not really known for Tunnbröd. It's kind of like a countryside thing, and only certain parts of the country do it. And then the countryside that my fiance comes from, he is from outside of Linköping in Östergötland. They also do not have like a Tunnbröd kultur, like a culture around that type of baked good. So I've never made it. I would love to one day, but I just don't know anybody who has that kind of oven or who has that family tradition. Her last question is, do I spin on my spinning wheel? And the answer is very sadly no. I'm a big fiber arts nerd, and learning to spin is one of my big life goals. Actually, my big life goal is to make a sweater, like from sheep to sweater, make a sweater, which obviously includes spinning, but I don't have the time for that, and I don't have a sheep. So that's just going to have to wait. At CBTC8PG asks, what are your favorite recipes that work with vegan alternatives? Actually, fun fact, all of my buns. If you have oat milk, even water, and a good butter alternative that you like, and I'm talking not like coconut oil, I'm talking like margarine situation, that is going to make really nice buns. You're not going to have to change the amounts. You're not really going to have to mess with anything. You can just go right ahead and make the buns. I have found that milk and butter replacements and vegan things are actually really easy. What is hard is egg, because then you really have to know, like, well, why is the egg in this thing? Is it for structural integrity? Is it just for color and texture and flavor? Like, then it gets way more complicated with egg. But milk and butter, if that's all that's in your baked good, you can just use your favorite vegan alternative and you're gonna be good to go. Ooh, that being said, when doing vegan alternative things, you have to think like butter is solid at room temperature. Oil is not solid at room temperature, so you can't use oil in place of butter because that solidity is important. So also think about that. At Lala7701 wants to know, this is actually my favorite question of the whole one. How did you get into the 3-star restaurant pastry job in the first place? Girl, boy, whoo, that's a story. If you weren't sitting down already, sit down. This is going to take a minute. If you already know this story, you can scroll a little bit because it is quite long. Or if you want to skip over it, I have all the timestamps down below. But let me tell you, I'm in high school. I basically burned out also in high school. Really didn't want to go to college. I took a gap year. I come back from my gap year, which I spent traveling around in Ecuador and Peru. It was very cool. I loved it very much. And I came back and I said, Dad, I still don't want to go to college. And my dad said, well, girl, you got to get some sort of job or career. You can't just float around, right? And I went, well, I have always loved food and cooking. I swear I'm going to get to the point eventually. Everything leads into each other, okay? So just have patience. And so I go, you know what? I've always loved cooking and baking. I wanted to be a chef for a while, and then I got really freaked out after reading Anthony Bourdain's books because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get screamed at all day, which I did end up being screamed at a lot, but I didn't want that. So I had kind of stopped wanting to be a chef, and then I was like, you know what's great about cooking though and baking is you don't really need to go to culinary school, at least not in America or in Sweden. You can. It's helpful in a lot of ways, but you don't have to. Anyways, all that being said, I found a 3-month program in Ireland. I went to Ballymaloo Cookery School in County Cork. Undescribably cool and awesome and such an amazing learning experience. Highly recommend. I did 3 months there. I also only wanted to do 3 months because 3 months when you're 19 is a really long time. And I was like, why would I sign up for a 1 or 2 or God forbid even 4-year culinary program at something like the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, when the whole thing I'm trying to avoid is college, and I don't want to make a decision that I'm going to be stuck somewhere not liking something. What if I hate it and then now I'm even older and trying to start college, right? 3 months sounded like a really good idea. Anyways, I do that. I come back, I decide to move to San Francisco. I'm looking for internships, and I emailed so many people. I just cold emailed people. And what I didn't know at the time was that stages, as they're called, internships are called in the restaurant industry, are much easier to get in the Michelin system because those restaurants are set up for stages, whereas I applied to a bunch of small bakeries and stuff thinking that would be easier, but small bakeries, small restaurants, neighborhood restaurants, that kind of thing, they are not set up for stages. They don't get requests like that, blah, blah, blah. So my very first restaurant that I ever stepped into, worked at, that kind of thing, was 2 Michelin star Croix in San Francisco. That was tough. I ended up doing a good job and the pastry chef liked me. And so I saw later, after my internship, a couple months had passed, and I saw him post on Twitter, the sister restaurant of Croix, which at the time was called Plum, and it was in Oakland, they needed a pastry cook. And so I wrote to him and he said, yeah, I really liked you. Cool story. Come do a 1-day stage. A stage can also mean a trial. So I staged at Plum. I got that job. Terrible head chef. Wow, was she mean. I lasted like 4 months. And then I saw that they were hiring at like one of my favorite bakeries in San Francisco, which at the time in, what was this? 2014, 2015 was like, in my opinion, the absolute best, coolest, most avant-garde, pushing the boundaries bakery in San Francisco, which was Craftsman and Wolves. And so I applied to work at Craftsman and I got the job because the head chef or the owner of Craftsman was friends and knew my pastry chef, the one that I had staged with, the one who got me the job in this restaurant in the first place. So I go work at Craftsman for like 14 months. I then decide I hate San Francisco. It is, wow, is that not the city for me? Let me tell you. It is, yeah, not Sicilia Tolone town. I really wanted to move. At the time, I think it still is common if you are an American chef that you want to go stage at like some restaurants in Europe and you like put that on your CV and it like looks really good. I decided to do another stage and I was applying to like all these places all over Europe. And again, I'm cold emailing. But the thing is, again, Michelin star restaurants are set up for this. So I'm just like sending my CV out. Does anyone have, stage programs, blah, blah, blah. And I applied to both restaurants in Sweden that were on the world's 50 best list, which was Fäviken and Franzén, the old location of Franzén. Fäviken never answered me back. Thanks for that, Magnus. But Franzén answered me and they said, if you can come for 3 months, then you can come be a stage. And I said, yeah, you man. So I got on a plane and I staged for 3 months at Franzén, and those are some of the best 3 months of my life. I loved the city. I loved the restaurant. I loved everybody I worked with. We were working so hard. I just indescribably loved it. It was so amazing. And at the end of it, I felt like I had done such a good job that I went to the head chef and I had printed out my CV and I said, I think I've done a really good job here. I love this restaurant with my whole heart. I want to work here. Please hire me. And he said, wow, love the enthusiasm. We really only have enough space for one pastry chef. We already got a guy. We will keep you in mind. And I said, thank you so much, chef. Totally understand. Keep me in mind. I fly back to the US for Christmas. I can't get Sweden out of my head. There's also a boy involved in this story, but we're not going to go into that. Anyways, I decide I have to move to Sweden. So January 2016, I moved to Sweden and I immediately applied to be a baker at Lingonberry Bageriet. Background story to this. When Franzén opened in Gamla Stan, it was actually called Franzén Lingonberry. Bjorn Franzén and Daniel Lingonberry were best friends. They worked together in England. Their dream was to open a restaurant together. They ended up doing that. They ended up getting 2 Michelin stars together. And then they had really different visions of like the life that they wanted. And so they divorced. They weren't actually, like partners in that way. But it really felt like having spoken to both of these men about it, and being a child of divorce myself, they divorced, right? Daniel Lingonberry decides he doesn't want to work at the restaurant anymore. He pulls out. He goes on to open Lingonberry Bageriet, which just so happened to be a 10 to 15 minute walk from my now Swedish boyfriend's house. So I apply there and Daniel goes, wow, you were a stage at Franzén? I said, yes. And then he goes, wow, so you worked at Craftsman and Wolves? I love Craftsman and Wolves. I've been following them on Instagram. And I went, oh my God, I worked there for 14 months. And he went, you're hired. Perfect. Cool. Now I live in Sweden. I have a job. I work at this great bakery. Cool story. Actually, not cool story. I was absolutely miserable the whole time. There were so many things going badly in my life, and I was so miserable my entire first year in Sweden. But for the purposes of how I got to a 3 Michelin star restaurant, very cool. Thank you, Daniel, for the job. In the middle of all of this, I got a phone call. Bjorn decided that he was never going to be able to get 3 stars in that little 2-star restaurant. So he had convinced his investors that he needed to move, he needed to build a bigger restaurant, and that's how he was going to get 3 stars. So they were going to close down old Franzén and they were going to open new Franzén. And in this whole closure process, the pastry chef, of old Franson, who was Swiss, decided he wanted to move back to Switzerland. He doesn't want his job anymore. Well, now they need a pastry chef. And you know who just applied? And you know who also just moved to Sweden? Me. So they call me and they say, hey, we need a new pastry program for New Franson. Do you want to join? And I said, yeah, I want to do that. That's how I got my job at New Franson. And we ended up being 2 people to begin with in the pastry program because they realized that like it was just too much for a single person. And I had also told them like, look, I do not have enough training for this. And they were like, no worries. And so like while I was working at Lingonberry Bageriet, I also had like a Saturday or Sunday, like whatever my one day off a week was, or one of my days off a week, I would stage at this chocolate shop so I could learn chocolate work here in Stockholm. And then in the evenings, I would go to, Franson had like a studio location and they were doing all the testing, the recipe testing for New Franson. And so I would also help out with all the recipe testing, unpaid by the way. Chocolate stage, unpaid. Menu development, unpaid. Oh, to be 23 again. So that's how I started working at Franson. And then, oh, by the way, in between my Lindenberry job and then we developed the whole menu and then we needed to like wait for another 6 months for the restaurant to be done building. And so then I worked at the French Laundry for 4 months because the head chef of Franson used to work at Per Se, and so he knew the head chef of the French Laundry. So I got to work at the French Laundry for 4 months while I was waiting for New Franson to open. Then I go back to New Franson. I worked there for a year as just a pastry cook with one other guy, and then this one other guy we both did like really well in our positions. So he got moved up into a sous chef position, and I got promoted to pastry chef, and that is how I became Sweden's first 3 Michelin star pastry chef at 26 years old. And if you're curious which job I burnt out of, I'm gonna let you guess in the comments. It was a time. Okay, well that's the end of that story. Let's move on to the next question. Elaine Fry 2673 asks, how do we get your recipes? I have a bunch of recipes from before I started a Substack. So a lot of my bun recipes and like older recipes from pre-2025, a lot of them are on my website, ceciliatalone.com. And then anything new, anything from Bageriet Lördag or from this year, you're gonna be able to get those on Substack when you become a paid subscriber. It's $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. Kenji Ka has 3 questions for me. The first being, have you thought about buying a double oven and a larger fridge? I have, but this is not my apartment. I rent this apartment in Swedish. I hyra andra hand. So I cannot make any structural changes. There's no way for me to redo this kitchen. This is the oven that I get. That's the refrigerator that I get. And that's that on that until I move. 2, why do you work from home and not own your own storefront? But storefront is expensive. Also, I think the way that Bageriet Lördag has like gone so well, it gives this impression that I've been doing this for a really long time. I have done this, 4 times this spring, and then now it's the middle of September, and I did it maybe from the beginning of August. So like I haven't even done a Bageriet Lördag Saturday 10 times. Like we are not at the point where I would be getting a storefront. They're so expensive. Did I grow up in Sweden? And I have stated that my grandma lives in Gothenburg. I did not grow up in Sweden. I grew up in Southern California, and my grandmother grew up in Gothenburg and then moved to America in the 50s, early 50s. My grandparents moved. We are now at the very last question. Thank you so much for sticking around through this whole video so far. At SarahJane4772 wants to know, I'm curious to know what your 9 to 5 is. And with you prepping and baking during the week, what is your downtime like? So, super fun announcement for you guys. I have quit my 9 to 5. As of filming this week that I'm filming it, the reason I'm so busy this week and I haven't been able to do Bageriet Lördag is because I have spent this entire week training my replacement. I worked at a big office here in Stockholm as the office manager, but I've quit and now I'm going to be focusing on social media and Bageriet Lördag full time, and I'm so excited. Actually, before my office job, I spent like a year and a half focusing on social media full time. And that's why I took my office job, because I was like, ooh, girl, I need some money and some stability. So I took the office job. But now things are going so well again. And so now I've decided we're taking the leap. We're going for it. I'm a big shoot for the moon kind of person. I'm a big take a chance, go for it type of person. And so that's what we're doing now. And that being said, prepping and baking during the week, what's your downtime like? Couple snatched minutes here and there. A good nap after a Bageriet Lördag. And then on Sundays, I try to do not too much. I usually have to do like food prep for like, office lunches and stuff like that. Like for myself. But yeah, not a lot of downtime, which is also kind of why I wanted to quit my 9 to 5, because it was getting really, really hard to balance the social media and the bakery. I have other projects that I've put on the back burner that I have to like deal with now in the fall because I have deadlines coming up. And then also I have this 9 to 5. I loved my office job, by the way. Everyone I worked with was absolutely fantastic. So kind, such good people. And that's it. Wow, you guys know so much more about me now. That's wild. I just revealed so many of my deepest, darkest secrets. Actually, no, I didn't. But I don't think I've actually talked this much about all of my opinions on certain things and parts of my life story and stuff as much before. So that was really fun. Let me know down below in the comments if you want me to do something like this. Again, I'm thinking maybe I'll do something like next like January or February or March or I don't know, sometime next year. I hope you guys have a great week and then I'll see you around next week. Hej då!